Kicking off the countdown at number 10 is Elton John. The legendary musician had massive success in 2019 with his Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour that grossed $212 million. It was the second highest one ranked in the music industry business. He had more tour dates in 2020, but the coronavirus pandemic postponed them, so he will have to wait to finish his 300 show tour across 5 continents. That's insane to me. Obviously, that affects his earnings this year, but Forbes still ranked him with an earning of $81 million at the time of their list posting, which was June 4th, 2020. But even though he's wildly successful, he's very generous when it comes to his money. Back in April, the Elton John AIDS Foundation announced a $1 million emergency fund to help those with HIV maintain their care during this COVID-19 crisis. He's often helped out and donated money to people and charities in need. Coming in next at number 9 is Ellen DeGeneres. She started out as a stand-up comedian and rose to fame when her sitcom Ellen premiered on television in 1994. 9 years later, her daytime talk show aired, which made her a household name. Reports say that she's been receiving an 8-figure paycheck from the daytime show alone, not including some of the other work she does. She has also earned millions of dollars for producing shows like Little Big Shots, and also receives licensing fees from her lines at PetSmart and Bed Bath & Beyond. So to say she has a lot of money would probably be an understatement. Forbes listed her at $84 million for this year's earnings so far, which is crazy to think because the list is shared in June and that is only halfway through the year. So imagine by the end of the year. Although she is under a lot of fire right now, so who really knows? Next up at number 8 is Harry Styles. You guys remember the boy band One Direction, right? Harry was the curly-headed kid, who most would say was the lead of the group. He's an English singer who started his music career in the band, which released 5 studio albums and won a ton of awards. But they ended up splitting up, and he released his own debut single back in 2017 called Sign of the Times. He signed a record deal with Columbia Records as a solo artist and now has a net worth of $75 million. The now 25-year-old was asked about his fame, and he says, I quote, "You're never going to get used to walking into a room and have people screaming at you. His other former band members aren't far behind him on the list. Actually, the entire band could technically make up half this list as individuals, but I'm not going to do that to you guys, or do that to myself. Out of all the band members as of 2019, he is making the most money." Rolling into number 7 is LeBron James. The 4-time NBA MVP joined the Los Angeles Lakers in 2019 under a 4-year contract worth $153 million. So it's not all that surprising to see him on this list. His money doesn't just come from his contract though. He also has the NBA's top endorsement portfolio and his own production company and a media company. His production company is called Spring Hill Entertainment and his media company is called Uninterrupted. He also teamed up with Cindy Crawford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Lindsey Vonn in 2018 to launch a health and wellness company, Ladder. Guess what? I am not done, there is more. He and his partners also own 19 Blaze Pizza franchises in Chicago and South Florida, so he is not hurting financially by any means. But he too does give back to people. The LeBron James Family Foundation opened its first elementary school in 2018 and plans to spend $41 million to send kids to college. Moving on to number 6, we have Howard Stern. I don't know why, but I definitely underestimated this guy because I did not expect him to be ranked this high on the Forbes list. Turns out he is actually the world's highest paid radio host thanks to his 8-figure annual contract with SiriusXM. His contract expires this year in December 2020, but he owns rights to his archives, which means a huge cash out could be coming. There's no denying he's good at what he does. He has 45 years of on-air experience under his belt. People love him for how honest he is during his celebrity interviews, but despite causing some controversy by having Donald Trump on his show on more than one occasion, he is still a massive success and is still one of the highest paid celebrities in Hollywood in general, like even outside of radio. He was on the Forbes list for a whopping total of $90 million. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Tyler Perry. He is a man who does does it all. He is a director, an actor, a producer, and a writer, best known for his Medea franchise, which has grossed more than $660 million. So it makes sense as to why he came in on Forbes' list at $97 million so far in 2020. His whole career started in theater, and once he became popular, he started to transition into film and television. But that is not the only place where his wealth comes from. A huge part of it comes from a library dating back to the early 1990s. He owns 100% of the content he has created. In 2019, he also opened Tyler Perry Studios. If you haven't heard of it, it's a 330-acre property in Atlanta with 12 sound stages and custom sets like their famous 2-scale White House that they have. On top of all of this, he also gets 25% of the streaming service BET Plus after he made a deal with Viacom in 2019. We've made it to number 4, and we have Lionel Messi, the soccer player ranked high on Forbes' list, coming in at $104 million. He was awarded both FIFA's Player of the Year award and the European Golden Shoe for top scorer, a record of 6 times. His current Barcelona contract is through the years 2020 to 2021 and pays him $80 million annually. So he is set for a while, to say the least. He also has a lifelong deal with Adidas, which is huge. Like a lifelong deal, like you're just set. On top of these wicked deals, he also launched his own clothing line and opened his first retail outlet store in Barcelona called the Messi Store. That actually opened in September 2019, so there is still plenty of room for growth in future years, especially once this pandemic comes to a final end. His store will probably skyrocket. Taking over the 3rd spot is Roger Federer, another iconic athlete that made the list, coming in at a whopping $106.3 million. I definitely underestimated how much athletes make. I'm not gonna lie, for some reason I thought celebrities like in Hollywood made more than athletes. I am mistaken. I really wish I was talented at a sport now. The tennis player is the world's highest paid athlete for the first time thanks to his insane portfolio of endorsement deals. The biggest one he has under his belt is the Japanese apparel brand Uniqlo, which locked him up in 2018 under a 10-year, $300 million deal. He has won $130 million in prize money throughout his career, but this does not include his huge earnings from appearances and endorsements as well. I mean, you can just imagine what he gets paid for appearances, since he holds the title of the greatest men's tennis player of all time. You could literally be like, yeah, I'll show up for like $1 million. In spot number 2 is Taylor Swift. At just 15 years old, she was the youngest songwriter to ever sign with Sony. She now has 10 Grammys on her shelf and several successful tours under her belt. Not to mention an endless list of songs and albums that made it in the first place on the top charts. Now at 29 years old, she has the title of one of the world's highest paid celebrities and also one of the richest female singers. According to Forbes, as of 2019, she has an estimated net worth of $360 million. But that does not include what she made from her 2019 Reputation tour, which was the highest grossing tour in US history. It grossed $266.1 million and sold more than 2 million tickets. So she is actually worth over $360 million, they just can't estimate all of that yet. She is known for being incredibly generous though with her money and has donated millions of dollars into different charities and causes. Not only does her money come from her music, but like most celebrities, it also comes from her merch and endorsements like other high profile brands. Speaking of number 1, who else would beat him for this place than his own sister-in-law, Kylie Jenner? She shocked the world when Forbes announced she was the youngest self-made billionaire in March 2019. But on their updated list this past June, her net worth is now $900 million. She did lose her billionaire title, which is actually less than Kanye's net worth. But as for who is richer in 2020 so far, Kylie takes the win. She is ranked at $590 million so far this year. She sold 51% of her brand, Kylie Cosmetics, to publicly traded Coty Inc. for $600 million and pocketed $540 million pre-tax. But her company is a massive success, earning $200 million in 2019 alone. She still remains in charge charge of creative efforts and marketing for her brand. But on top of that, she also then started her own skincare line called Kylie Skin, which also brings in an insane amount of money for her. The most shocking part is she is only 23 years old and is the youngest and richest one on this list. Starting off our list in the number 10 spot is The Weeknd. The singer turned 29 years old just a few months ago on February 16th, 2019. He is a Canadian singer, songwriter, and record producer who began his career in 2010 by putting out his music on YouTube. He's been in the industry for less than a decade and has gained an enormous following, and is now one of the most popular mainstream artists in the world. He's dated other celebrities like Selena Gomez and now Bella Hadid again, and has also had the opportunity to collaborate with some of the most famous musicians out there. He's got a pretty solid career. As of 2019, his net worth is around $57 million. When speaking about his success during an interview, he said, "It's always been in me, I just had to be confident enough to let it out." Boy, was it a good thing that he did. And at number 9 is Selena Gomez. Hey, look at that, it is his ex-girlfriend taking the spot above him. The 26-year-old superstar started her career on the Disney Channel, taking the lead in the hit TV series Wizards of Waverly Place. It was after this show that she started to gain a lot of recognition and then joined the band Selena Gomez and the Scene. Over the years, she starred in different movies and began her career as a solo artist, which definitely did her no harm. In 2017, Billboard reported that Selena had sold over 7 million albums and 22 million singles worldwide. She has taken some time off from music for self-care, going through different rehabilitation programs, and also undergoing a big kidney transplant surgery. She is currently making a comeback though, and is still one of the most popular artists in the world, taking the second place of most Instagram followers in the world at 154 million. As of the most recent report in 2009, her net worth is approximately $60 million, so not too much more than her ex-boyfriend, but still more. In spot number 8 is Dwayne Johnson. Better known as The Rock, he is the world's highest paid actor thanks to his massive paychecks from films like Black Adam and Red Notice, which are set to arrive in 2021. Exciting stuff. Forbes said that the former wrestling star can command more than $20 million per movie, with his impressive resume to back it up. But outside of his movie earnings, he also cashes in on some small screen programs like the NBC competition show called The Titan Games, and also an upcoming series called Young Rock. Not to mention his very successful Under Armour line, Project Rock, which sells clothing, shoes, and headphones. There are actually many different ways that his bank account is filling up to the $87.5 million, according to the Forbes list. Taking over the number 7 spot is Emma Watson. She is an English actress originally born in Paris and took the world by storm for her performance as Hermione in the Harry Potter series. She took on her role throughout the years 2001 all the way to 2011, earning her a whopping $60 million. Not a bad gig. After that, she continued to take on big roles in multiple movies, and one of them earned her $17 million. Can you guess which one? Yep, it was for her incredible performance as Belle in the live-action Beauty and the Beast back in 2017. When she's not acting, she's the UN Women Goodwill Ambassador and also makes money from modeling and endorsement deals with beauty brands like Chanel and Burberry. Oh, what a life. The actress is now 29 years old. She's no longer that frizzy head Hermione that we once knew her as. She is all grown up and her bank account has grown with her. As of this year, 2019, her net worth is approximately $80 million. And at number 6 is Ariana Grande. The pop star was not lying when she sang, "I want it, I got it." The 26-year-old bragged about all the money she has in her single called 7 Rings, with the lyrics saying, "Whoever said money can't solve your problems must not have had enough money to solve them." Well, way to rub it in, Ari. The girl is bringing in some mad dough from her tours. According to Billboard, her tour in 2017, the Dangerous Woman tour, brought in $71 million, partly coming from the merch that she was selling at the time. She is currently on her Sweetener World Tour, so we can only imagine what kind of money that one will bring in. Not only does she have her music, but she's also made more than $150 million over the span of 2 years for her fragrances. She's created some beauty products too, like teaming up with MAC for a lip gloss. The girl isn't messing around when it comes to earning that money. According to the Celebrity Net Worth, Ariana's net worth is sitting around $100 million. It's hard to calculate with her tour going on currently, but she was earning anywhere between 80 to 100 million before it even started. So, guess we will have to wait for a future update. On a side note, she has surpassed Selena Gomez on Instagram and now has the most followers in the world at 161 million and counting as of today. I went and looked at her Instagram, so these are facts. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Ed Sheeran. I totally underestimated what this guy was worth. No offense. The 28-year-old is an English singer and songwriter who started out by busking on the streets of London and performing at small gigs in his hometown. But now he's selling out arenas around the world, landing him within the top 100 richest singers in the world. As of 2019, his net worth is estimated to be at 110 million. I honestly didn't believe it at first that he was making more than Ariana Grande. But why he's worth so much isn't just because of his tours, he's also a songwriter, which many people forget. He writes songs for huge artists, and I bet you didn't even know they were written by him, because I didn't. Some examples that he wrote are Strip That Down for Liam Payne, Cold Water for Justin Bieber and Major Lazer, Tattoo for Hilary Duff, Your Song for Rita Ora, and the list just goes on and on and on. He is incredibly talented when it comes to his own music, but he spreads the love by sharing his talent with other people in the industry. Well, he's not really sharing, he's actually making some really good cash from it. Here we are at number 4 with Miley Cyrus, my queen. We first got to know Miley through her role as Hannah Montana on the Disney Channel. You know, the girl who lives a very unrealistic double life as a famous singer and an average schoolgirl who only throws on a different wig and somehow no one notices. Totally unrealistic, but I'm still totally obsessed with it and I still watch it. She started to break away from her role as Hannah and began releasing her own music away from the Disney Channel. She also started pursuing acting in films like Bolt, The Last Song, LOL, and So Undercover. Not including her albums as Hannah Montana, she has released 7 studio albums which have all been a total success. No surprise there. Another big moment in her career was when she joined the judge panel on the reality singing show The Voice. The 26-year-old has been the youngest person to land a judging role on that show. Pretty sweet. And more recently, you could watch her taking on the lead role as Ashley O in an episode of Netflix hit TV series Black Mirror. The episode completely blew up, as well as the soundtrack, which is sung by her character. Miley's net worth was actually higher back in 2017, around 200 million, but as of this year, 2019, her net worth is estimated at 160 million. Alright guys, we are at number 3 with Justin Bieber, the Biebs. He is a Canadian singer who achieved success at a very young age. As a kid, he started singing on the streets of his hometown Stratford, Ontario, and began posting cover videos of himself on YouTube. It was there that he was discovered by a talent manager, Scooter Braun. Justin flew out to Atlanta, Georgia to work with him and recorded some demo tapes. Only a week later, he was discovered by Usher and quickly signed a record deal. He was the first artist to have 7 songs from a debut record chart on the Billboard Hot 100 list. His debut album was also certified triple platinum in the US. From there, his career took off and he is one of the biggest pop stars in the world. He is living a more quiet and private life right now after moving to Canada and living with his new wife Halie Baldwin, but that does not mean he still isn't making that money. A 2019 update has his net worth as $265 million. Not bad for being 25 years old. And spot number 2 is Kanye West. Forbes started calling him a billionaire after new information surfaced about his deal with Adidas for his sneaker brand Yeezy. His real-time net worth is $1.3 billion, but for the 2020 celebrity earnings list, he ranked in with $170 million as of June. He obviously makes a ton of money from his music, but he also gets an annual royalty from Adidas and pulled in an estimated $1.3 billion in 2019. Outside of Yeezy shoes, he also has a Yeezy apparel line which has done significantly well too. In June 2020, Gap announced that they will start selling a line of his clothing, so he will have another deal under his belt. There is no avoiding the fact that his music and tours have made him an insane amount of money as well. And if the pandemic didn't happen, he may have been touring this whole time, which could possibly get him into number 1 place on this list. Taking our number 1 spot is Kylie Jenner. She literally trumps everyone on this list probably combined. The 21-year-old marked a milestone moment earlier this year when she earned the title of the youngest self-made billionaire ever. Many people have always wondered what exactly she's famous for. She wasn't known for anything other than being the younger sister on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but then she started her own makeup line called Kylie Cosmetics. Her brand completely blew up and last year earned an estimated $360 million. Her growth percentage since then has increased significantly, and she also added in a Kylie skin line. Forbes calculated that her company fortune is $1 billion and she owns 100% of it. Her empire consists of just 7 full-time and 5 part-time employees. The rest of the work is done by her. Her mother, who is also her manager, Kris Jenner, takes 10% for a management fee, but everything else is in Kylie's pocket.
In at number 10, Steve Jobs. The mastermind behind the massive success of Apple and really the technological advancement of smartphones can all be attributed to this man's vision. When Steve Jobs dropped out of Reed College, it left him without a dorm room to sleep in. He was so poor that he had to sleep on friends' floors and return Coke bottles to make whatever money that he could. During a speech at Stanford University, Jobs recalled walking 7 miles across town every Sunday night just to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna Temple. At the time of his death in 2011, the American inventor and business mogul had a net worth of $10.2 billion. In at number 9, Dr. Phil. Coming from very meager beginnings, Phil McGraw was homeless at the age of 12 when his father was interning as a psychologist. Dr. Phil and his father were living in a car in Kansas City while his father was trying to secure a job. McGraw would later get his own bachelor's, master's, and PhD, which would come important to his later career. On his rise to celebrity status though, Dr. Phil joined his father's psychology practice in Texas. Thanks to Oprah Winfrey inviting McGraw on her show in the 1990s, he would soon become a regular on the show. This would then lead to him being able to launch his very own successful advice program. In at number 8, Kelly Clarkson. Before winning the first season of American Idol, Clarkson suffered through a lot of hard times, which just makes her singing "Whatever Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger" feel all the more real. According to a 2011 New York Times profile of Kelly Clarkson, while the singer was in Los Angeles, she ended up living in her car after the apartment that she moved into caught fire. With little to no money and no contacts in LA, Kelly was forced to move back to her home state of Texas, although it was almost a blessing in disguise. Clarkson was able to audition for American Idol when they rolled through her state. I bet the next time that she went to Los Angeles though, it was pretty bittersweet. In at number 7, Chris Pratt. I will forever know him as Burt Macklin, but ever since his transition from funny guy to action hero, Pratt has really made a name for himself in Hollywood. At 19 years old, Pratt accepted a one-way ticket to Maui, Hawaii from a friend. This is where he would then go on to live in a flea and mice-infested van. During an interview with The Independent, he said it was pretty awesome, adding, "We just drank and smoked weed and worked minimal hours, 15 to 20 hours per week, just enough to cover gas, food, and fishing supplies." While Pratt was waiting tables at the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company in Maui, actress Ra Dawn Chong took notice of his good look and decided to cast him in her directorial debut. The film was called Curse Part 3, which is actually the script that you see Chris holding in the photo of him beside his van. When reflecting on his hard times and this massive opportunity, Chris said, "The moment she told me she was bringing me to LA, I knew. I was like, this is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life." And thank God he did. In at number 6, James Cameron. James Cameron is responsible for some of the greatest films in history. From The Terminator to The Titanic, he has had an illustrious career in the entertainment industry. Although before he made it to the big leagues, Cameron was a struggling artist. While he was writing The Terminator, he could barely make ends meet. For a little while, he was even forced to live in his car. However, at that moment, his main concern wasn't money, it was time. Despite the little experience that he had with writing a script, James was determined to get this movie made. He even attempted to pitch his Terminator script, and while most production companies liked it, they didn't want to put the amateur James Cameron in charge. James was brilliant though. Even then, he decided to partner with producer Gail Ann Hurd, who purchased the rights to his screenplay for $1 so long as she named him the director. The Terminator would go on to make $77 million worldwide. In at number 5, Jennifer Lopez. Before she was crushing it with movies and singing at the Super Bowl halftime show, J-Lo was forced to couch surf because her parents did not approve of her career choice. When she was 18 years old, she told her mother that she wanted to be a dancer, but her mom insisted that she go to college instead. So in an act of rebellion, Lopez moved out and started sleeping on the sofa at her dance studio. During an interview with W Magazine, she said, "I was homeless, but I told her, this is what I have to do." And a few months later, she had landed a gig dancing in Europe, and then upon returning to LA, she booked a role on the show In Living Color. Now at 50 years old, her net worth is reported to be $400 million, earning approximately $40 million each year. In at number 4, Shania Twain. It's difficult to imagine this country music legend ever living on the streets, but as a child, Shania Twain had a rough upbringing. Long before her superstar status, Shania stayed in a Toronto homeless shelter with her mother and siblings. Later on, when she turned 16 years old, she found shelter by sleeping in buses and vacant homes. When looking back on these dark times, Shania said, "I think I've remained very detached from my life to this point, almost as though it was a different person, every phase I went through. So I've reconnected and said, no, this is actually who I am. I'm neither embarrassed of who I am, where I came from, what I've experienced, I'm not ashamed of it." Twain's album The Woman in Me would end up winning her a Grammy in 1995 for Best Country Album, and as of 2020 she has sold over 100 million records, making her one of the best-selling female artists in country music history. Her net worth today is an estimated $400 million. In at number 3, Halie Berry. Halie Berry first moved to New York City to pursue a career in acting at 21 years old, although before she knew it she had run out of money and her mother decided that the best thing to do was not to send her daughter more cash. This then forced Berry to stay in a homeless shelter and learn to take care of herself. During an interview with Reader's Digest, she said, "It taught me how to take care of myself and that I could live through any situation, even if it meant going to a shelter for a small stint or living within my means, which were meager. I became a person who knows that I will always make my own way." And make her own way she did. Halie Berry has become one of the most iconic and successful actresses in Hollywood. Today she is one of the highest paid actresses in the entertainment industry and has an estimated net worth of $80 million. In at number 2, Steve Harvey. Steve is the definition of the phrase a jack of all trades. In fact, they should change it to a Steve of all trades. He's a hilarious comedian, game show host, actor, and the list goes on and on. Before his rise to fame though, the 63-year-old TV personality told People magazine that when he started out as a comedian in the late 80s, a couple gigs fell through, leaving him homeless. He goes on to say in the same interview that he lived in his 1976 Ford Tempo for 3 years, and whenever he wanted to wash up, he'd have to go find a gas station, a hotel bathroom, or even use the showers at a local swimming pool. It wasn't until he was called to appear on Showtime at the Apollo that his luck started to turn around. In fact, this was his big break, and in 2020 his net worth is an estimated $200 million. Last but not least, in our number 1 spot, Jim Carrey. According to his biography, actor and comedian extraordinaire was a high school dropout, although it wasn't because he was failing. His father was a musician who got a regular job to support his children, but when he lost this job, that's when everything started to fall apart. They went from lower middle class to just poor. The entire family was living out of a van, and at the age of 15, Jim quit school to begin working to support his family as a janitor. Although when reflecting on his childhood, Jim said that it was during these tough financial times that he developed a sense of humor. As of 2020, his estimated net worth is $150 million, putting him on that small list of the richest comedians in the world.